Welcome to the Out on a Limb podcast. We are all interconnected to a greater web of consciousness. Our aim is to open your mind to a new world through having open-minded discussions about what we perceive our reality to be.
Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Out on a Limb podcast with your matching hosts, Will and Allison and Samantha. This was completely by accident.
Trust
they
me,
did not know.
We don't send out memos to each other.
No, and Samantha came all the way up from Hilton Head area with her outfits already picked out, and he had his.
And I just looked at that going, okay, out of the 3 outfits I have, what's going to go best with that? Well, I'll just wear this. And then
I show up.
Yeah, and then he shows up. So
That's awesome.
You're copying me.
Okay.
So what is so interesting is that when Samantha drives, she drives about 2 hours or so to get up here to tape some podcasts. She listens to various things or things pop up. You know, when you're driving, there's always inspiration because you're in a kind of a trance state as you're driving, especially for 2 hours.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the times we have no idea what we're going to talk about. And we tape 3 podcasts whenever we get together. And we have sometimes no clue. Mm-hmm. But Samantha will come up and go, you know what? This popped in while I was driving, or I heard this nugget of information on this channeling or something like that. Or, and it gives us some inspiration. And today is one of those days. And the thing that popped up was ego.
Yeah.
That dreaded ego. We've talked briefly, I think, about ego in the past because it's something that we always have to contend with. Now, you'll hear this term ego death, and that's what we're titling this episode, ego death. But, you know, the goal is not to kill the ego or get rid of it completely because the ego is what gives you your personality. It's how you interface with this 3D world. And without an ego at all, without any kind of construct or personality or filter through which you interact, you wouldn't be interacting. There would be no need.
There would be no need to be here.
So it's more about just kind of taming the ego and recognizing the ego, right?
I was going to say, no, sometimes it just needs a smack upside the
Yeah.
Sure.
But it ends up smacking us up against that. So
But we really don't want to kill it.
no.
No.
And we get, people really think they have to rid themselves of their ego, and you're going to be
But
frustrated
you
because that's not
can,
going to happen.
yeah, and many seek out different types of plant medicines and different things to strip away the ego or go through an ego death or dismantle the ego or whatever. And yes, for a short amount of time, I will say,
Right.
for a short amount of time, that is possible, where you have stripped away your ego and you have, in essence, had an ego death. But it will, according to me and my world according to Will Brown, it will grow back. It will rebirth itself, but it will be a different ego.
Kinder, gentler.
Right. It'll
Yeah.
be where you have a better relationship with it. That doesn't mean that it's going to stay at bay the entire time. It's still going to rear its head up, and you have to understand how to work with it, deal with it. So
Right. And so that's what we're going to talk about because nobody is immune to these problems.
right.
Yeah.
I think as we grow spiritually and evolve, it gets easier. And we recognize when our ego is rearing its head
Yeah.
and we're triggered or something's happening and we need to check it. We need to put it in check, but it happens quicker.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
the triggers are less frequent, but when it does happen,
Yeah.
it's easier to recognize and it's easier to tame and have an understanding of why that's happening and what needs to heal within when those ego things are present. And we're going to talk about some of the examples because we are vulnerable and we don't mind sharing our authentic selves with you for learning because we're not there yet either. Nobody really is. So,
Well, unless you've sequestered yourself at the top of that mountain and you don't plan on coming down.
Yeah.
So,
and then you're probably mad at something. Something's bothering your ego. A mosquito in the cave with you or whatever it is. So
Yeah.
Samantha's going to bare her soul and be vulnerable
Whoa.
and tell us about a situation that
And
brought this up.
And I have not discussed this previously with Diana. So Diana, if you're watching, here you go. I'll let her know that I discussed this.
We can cut out the name if you'd like.
No, not at all. No, Diana, like she's on track and like it's not her, it's me. You
Right,
know?
right.
I'm the one that like, but she'll appreciate hearing this. And it's been great because I've got a relationship with this. Diana's been on here before with this woman, Diana, who one of the greatest things about it is that I'm able to catch myself in real time. Like I've already done this before with her, where I was feeling left out and marginalized with this group of friends, and it was all my own creation. And when I called her, I had to say, this is about me, not about you. Don't try to fix it, because it's fixed. It's something I'm working through. And she's learning from me as I go through this, but she's also like, she's just a great teacher, holder of that space, like we talk about. But anyway, so she's been soaking up so much from me over the past couple of years since we first met. And like she's taught me so much, and everyone that I come in contact with, like, what I say, like kind of like student mentor kind of thing.
Right.
I get as much from them as they get from me, and more so a lot of times. But she's also a very good friend. And anyway, so she has been expanding, and especially while I was away, but she's been like, I said, you got to try Reiki, you got to try, like I've given her directions to go in for healings and things like that. Well, she's met up with a couple of women up where she is and accelerating like her spiritual journey. And it's just like, she'll call me and say, oh my God, guess what? This happened. I did this 5 times. And partly I'm a little envious because she gets to do all of these acupuncture sessions that I would love to do, or Reiki sessions. And so I ask her all about it, but there's another side to it. Well, okay, let me explain. So she's been having these greater awarenesses, like, she started going, well, my people are saying this, because she's starting to get like these, and I think she's always had it. She's just now becoming aware that she's been doing it. And so, but I mean, you take someone who is like in Muggle world and now has just gone doors wide open, bring it on. So while I was gone, there's a couple of things that occurred, a couple of realizations, and she couldn't wait to talk to me about them. And so, I get back, and we finally, after a week of me being back, we finally talk. And I caught myself. We're in this conversation. I'm so excited for her. And she's saying, so she said, if I want to talk to my brothers, I can just talk to them. I don't need to just go to a medium. I don't have to go through you. I don't have to, and she's like, so I can just do it myself. So I'm in a Reiki session and she's doing this stuff to me, and I just start talking to them, and oh my God, she's sharing with me these messages that profound that are coming through. And there's something going on inside of me. And I'm like, what is this weird little, it's like this creature going,
Yes.
like
The pot's getting stirred.
and I'm like, what the hell, and I'm going, am I jealous that she's getting information from or expanding, or that she's, jumping ahead of me, or that what is this thing? Is this ownership? Is this, like, I'm trying to throw as many labels at it as possible to see what triggers. And I'm still not exactly sure what it was, but I was definitely being triggered. And I started thinking, okay, this feeling, is this what other people have felt with me when I've joined groups and then I'm doing really well and they kind of go, yeah, see you later, Samantha, because they don't like my growth or something, they're triggered by my growth. And because I've had that experience, I can look at it much more quickly. So the whole time I'm talking to her, I'm just going, that's great. That's fantastic. And I'm going, can she hear that I don't have 100% energy in this conversation, that like I really do mean it, but there's something I can feel inside of me. So when you do this work over and over again, it's like masochistic, where you want to root out every little bit of that kind of triggering kind of, it's nastiness, but it's not, it's like, where is this coming from?
Because it doesn't feel good.
Yeah. I'm not in alignment for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I just, I kept going, okay, I'm going to address this later. And I just kept focusing on what she was saying and being happy for her. And then, so then on the way up here today, this was yesterday, and then on the way up here today, it's like, I didn't want to listen to any videos. I didn't want to listen to any music or, audiobooks. I just kind of sat there in silence. And I've been going through a weird thing the past couple of days where reality's not it's like an overlay right now. Things just are, I don't know how to explain it, but I'm very confused right now with reality. And that makes me wonder, should I be driving a car?
2 hours.
Yeah. I mean,
Right.
it's like I had to put sunglasses on, take sunglasses off, put glasses on, nope. I got to have the sun in my eyes. Like, it's just weird stuff. So anyway, I'm almost up here and I'm like, God, I wonder what we're going to talk about. And maybe this would be a good thing to talk about. And I turn back my attention back to the situation, and I have several realizations about it. And then I just say, thought, what am I holding on to here? What do I need from her? I desire her friendship. I have been, giving of myself for her to advance to these levels. There's a give and take, and this is beautiful. And I just was, what the hell am I doing? And it's like weird because all of a sudden that whole resistance thing or whatever, it just dissolved within me. Like, it just dissolved. And I was like, whoa, okay, where else am I doing this? And I thought, okay, my fear, okay, so this has to do with fear. Okay, my fear of showing up and people like, here I'm doing this Zen Tarot course. And I'm like, but James Von Prague's doing a tarot course. And, and I'm kind of going, he's got a lot more clout behind him. And I'm like, what the hell am I, where is my head at? And I'm just like, okay, that no longer matters. Sam, none of that matters. You are here to do what you're here to do. That's all that matters.
Yeah.
And this is the course you've been on. These are the gifts, the talents, the skills you've been given. Buck up and move forward. And it's just like all of that resistance just went away. Mm-hmm. But I think I was kind of surprised that it popped up. But I think I was even more surprised at how I could viscerally hold it in my thoughts, and it felt like in my hands, driving down the road, and just have it just go, whoomp. And so I come in here and I'm like, okay, I know what we need to talk about, ego death, and when I say that, it's of that, it's not my whole ego, it's of that aspect.
Right, that little point of it, yeah.
And as you talked about, it's a triggering point. So and you said it's not about you, it's about me. And that's true. So it's about searching in your heart for that unhealed piece.
Yeah.
Is it a self-worth issue? Do we not feel good enough about our own skill? Whatever that is. But if you find that, then you can heal it so that it won't be a trigger anymore. And that's the point. It's not to beat yourself up or not to have to share this with the other person or say,
no,
I'm breaking up with you. It's not about you. It's about me. Okay, yeah. But it is about the healing. Any trigger, any time is about you and what's unhealed, and it's painful. And because we don't want to admit that it's painful because we feel low self-worth, that's when it becomes the ego problem. And that's when it becomes jealousy or we accuse another person of something, because it's our defense mechanism to not feel that pain. You don't want to feel that low self-worth or that unworthiness or whatever that is that's being triggered. It's very uncomfortable.
Well, I think also with people who are, healers, light workers, whatever you want to call, in that we're all ascending into a certain level of what we call mastery, but we're still a human. And so for me, I'm kind of going, ooh, that's ugly and unloving, and that is not like me.
Right.
I wanted it out, and I was so grateful that it popped up.
Yeah.
So that, like, I'm masochistic about it. Like, bring up these things, stir the pot so that I can sit there and go, ooh, that's ugly. What is going on? Gone,
Right.
But I think that's the thing that we need to recognize is, we think that we're being so loving and we're so giving, but we're still going to come across these blocks or triggers or whatever you want to call it. And because of who we are, what we're doing, with all the healing and all this kind of stuff, it behooves us to really dig in and resolve it so that we go on in more of a clear, energetic way.
Right.
And this is not a left brain exercise. This is a heart-centered exercise, right? It's not about thinking what is triggering me and how can I make it up, and thinking your way out of it.
What modality could I have? That,
Yeah.
What can I go see somebody for that can do this? But no,
Right. It's about going within and giving yourself the love, the compassion, and the
self-reflection point.
forgiveness,
Yeah.
and forgiving ourselves for that, because we want to beat ourselves up like you said. Well, I'm not like that. Why am I acting like that? That's not very loving. That's not spiritual. And we beat ourselves, and the self-recrimination just adds on.
Yeah, that doesn't help anyone. Like, I was like,
Right.
do I talk to her about this? And I'm like, no, I need to work through it.
Yes.
But
And
I did talk to her about the last time,
Yeah.
I brought it up. I waited it. I mean, because I was really hurt the last time. Like, I was just like, I'm just going to sit in my own little corner and not bother them and stuff. And it was like, wow, what a freaking pity party I had for myself. And I was like, I'm not going to do that again. And
You're
so
right.
I didn't do it again. But I just thought this is an important thing for us to be aware of, because how many times have you, as someone on a spiritual journey, had a mentor or even a practitioner who is helping you, is guiding you, and then all of a sudden they're just like kind of nasty to you.
Oh, yeah. It happens
you
a lot.
feel that shift of energy,
Yes.
and you're like, what did I just do? Mm-hmm. And it's not about you.
You're right.
No, it's
And this is so interesting because I'm all about these authentic relationships and authentic conversations. And you have to live it. You have to walk that talk. And there's so many people that say they want to be about authentic conversations, and they're not, because the minute you
Until they
say
do.
something to them,
Yeah.
they can't handle it. So I make every effort. This is a big thing in my life, to make every effort to be genuine and authentic with people. And so I had this situation just about a week ago where a good friend was telling me something that I had done that she wasn't thrilled with, and it hurt my ego. It did. It stung. But you don't know what that is. But I sat there and I let her tell me.
she didn't discuss.
And she was compassionate. And this is the point about having authentic conversations. You can't go to somebody and go, you triggered me. Where are you on heel? Is your problem? Whatever. You can't gaslight them and be all like that. You have to be compassionate with somebody. So she was compassionate, and she said, this is very hard for me to say, but I'd prefer if you didn't do this, or whatever it was. And I said, I hear you. Thank you very much for bringing that up, because I can't fix it if you don't bring it up.
Yeah, exactly.
And it took a while. It still kind of stings. It still kind of stings because it gets at that emotion. It gets at that real heart-centeredness of what this is all about. And but what you said that I want to bring up is that don't dump that on somebody else. Like, I didn't go to this person and say, you made me feel this kind of way, because I think when you do that, you're assuaging your own guilt for feeling the feeling that you felt, and you want to dump it on somebody to make yourself feel better. And that, like, imagine
Or you
if you're
correct their belief
if
of it.
you're Diana, or even in the situations, because you said you've had this situation before where people kind of desert you because your skills are building or something. What if? How would you feel if she came to you and said, I just want you to know that when you said this, I started to feel really bad. I was feeling jealous. I had to work through it. They don't need all that baggage. They don't need that. So it's, like you said, it's mine to deal with. So the way I felt in trying to be authentic and accept authenticity when it was presented to me, that's my problem to deal with. And I didn't mention it to that person because it's not her business. She did what she was supposed to do, and I did what I was supposed to do. But it isn't easy is the point. It isn't easy. But if you say that you're going to have authentic relationships and heal yourself, then you have to do it both ways.
Well, remember, okay, so Allison had brought up to me when I was doing the posts for, I was doing some MLM stuff, and
Oh, we're getting real vulnerable here, aren't we?
and I'm sure that you had to be just, well, the good thing is I was putting these out and I was going, I know that my spiritual friends who know that walking the talk and all that stuff, I'm sure they're squirming. I felt that. Like, I was kind of going, I'm putting this out there. And so I could just see, I envisioned you in your kitchen. This is before you talked to me about
Lord.
it. Going, well, look what she's posted now. Because I knew, like, because I was because I wasn't, I was walking my talk.
But you were still
as
justifying
close
something.
to,
Yeah.
yeah. And so,
Well, the
what
part about it was you were justifying that point of reality versus what you were actually probably internally feeling.
Yeah.
And the juxtapose actions of that. And it's like, this is what I need to do,
yeah,
but yet I know that,
this doesn't feel right. Yeah. And so, you don't have to share what you went through before trying to call me if you don't want to.
It's not easy to have those kinds of authentic conversations. So in this situation, I had to be the one, like my friend was to me, to be the one to say, hey, this is how I'm feeling about what you have done. Maybe consider
And
something.
I knew that couldn't be easy to do, but we said, you were like, we said we were going to be honest.
Right.
And I was like,
Authentic,
because that is having that openness. And like, the thing is, okay, so one of the triggers so many of us have is, that we're a victim. And if you see yourself as a victim, then anybody coming to you with loving thoughts, guidance, whatever, you're going to immediately take as you got to defend yourself.
Right.
And that's the thing is I knew, like, I approach it as everyone has my best interest. Everyone, they may not understand where I'm coming from, but they have my best interest. So I need to listen. And so, when you brought that up to me, I remember being like that edge of kind of,
It's uncomfortable.
Yeah,
it's uncomfortable.
It really, and that's why I say it's masochistic, because it's kind of like, bring it on. And I even I got into the conversation with you about it.
You
it wasn't
were
a simple,
amazing. You took it so well. This is how I tell who is really walking their talk and who can be in an authentic relationship. And you, ding, 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 you won.
Well, as soon as she got off
I don't have very many
as soon
people
as she
that
got
can.
as soon as she got off the phone, she was like, she took it way better than I thought this was going to go, because she understands. And that's all you said was she understands. She gets it.
Oh yeah,
So,
you were beautiful. You were beautiful.
Yeah.
How you felt on the inside, or when you hung up the phone, I don't know.
You're right.
But you were beautiful.
What got sling across the room? Who knows?
Yeah, no. I had to soothe my ego a bit, because I was sitting there going, I mean, the thing is, I knew it.
And that's what I had to do. I had to soothe my ego when this person told me they weren't happy with whatever it was. And it wasn't terrible.
No.
But it was just something that, moving forward, please don't do this in this way, or whatever it was. But I had to soothe my ego. You're right.
Yeah,
We have to tame the ego.
But see, the thing, okay, if we talked more about this stuff, if we started at a young age,
Right.
Yeah.
I was having a conversation with Diana about approaching someone she hadn't talked to in a long time. And I'm like, she had good intentions.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, you have good intentions, but this person hasn't heard from you. You don't know how they're going to take.
Right.
Generally, let's assume that if you haven't talked to someone for a long time, they're coming from this, these sets of circumstances, they might not take what your intention is very well. And so it's like, if we did, and she's also really good at listening and going, okay, let me reconsider. But if we did this when we were younger, because I told her, whatever happens in your conversation with this person, I tell my kids the same thing, fall on your sword, say, I'm sorry. And that's removing the ego, telling the ego, take a back seat. And it's not being false. It's recognizing that there's something going on there that the person is feeling, experiencing, whatever, and that give them the space to work through what that is. And it may not happen in that conversation.
Right.
But if you sit there and go, no, you're wrong for feeling that way, well, then the whole situation just...
Because that is their reality and that is their perspective. And you're just honoring that they have that reality. It might not be your reality, and you can work through that, like you said, but you're honoring that that is their reality in that moment.
Yeah. So I think there's a difference between brutal honesty and radical honesty.
Well, this is the point. People want to say, I want to be honest with you. And they use that as an excuse to berate you or to be brutally honest. There's no room in the new earth for brutally honest.
Well,
that's an oxymoron.
There's never been room in the normal earth for
No.
brutal honesty.
It's called compassionate honesty.
And being authentic.
Well, and when I say
authentic.
radical, it's radical to be
honest.
honest.
Yes,
you know?
Yes.
It's and I just I hope that, like that we're being very careful with our youth and stuff, and that we're focusing on this stuff more, because it's, it's so important for them to learn at young age. You do need to, there's politeness, like if somebody, I saw this TikTok video, and it was amazing.
I love how it's always underground. TikTok video.
This teacher who was speaking to her kids, and she said, now how do we express something that, that we need to, like, that we're concerned about, that we want to get out about another person? She said, if that's something that the person can't change, we don't say anything. Like if I just said, Allison, I really, your hair color just doesn't work for me. And like, it's your natural hair color.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like, if I sit there and say, that just doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
Okay, that's just bitchy. That's not even,
That isn't my problem.
It's like, what can I do with it?
But if it's something else that is a behavior thing that the person, they may not be aware they're doing it,
Right.
And the thing is, you have to realize that when you also make that comment, you have to, there's a part that you do have to do on your side where it's recognized, I've put it out there, now it's up to them to choose. You're not trying to course correct them. You're simply saying, I've noticed this.
A point of awareness.
Yeah.
Or sharing how you feel. Because if they're habitually doing something that makes you feel uncomfortable, and this is even in a spousal relationship, if you don't share, then they don't know and they can't make the choice to fix it.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's, who is it? Esther Hicks talks about this a lot, or Abraham, that, it's not the world's responsibility to make you comfortable.
Right.
But okay, so you have to, we always talk about our fifth throat chakra.
throat chakra,
Yeah, being blocked because we feel like we can't say our
Right.
truth. Well, you need to be able to say your truth, to say it compassionately, but you also need to recognize that when you're saying it for the awareness and the potential adjustment, but that if the adjustment doesn't follow, that's that person's right, and then it's your right to go, I like this or I don't like this, and back away.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So there's more than just the.
It's a dynamic. It's a very
Yes.
it's a very fluid dynamic that has to take place, and most people will err on the side of absolutely saying nothing because they don't want to.
It's too uncomfortable.
It's too uncomfortable. But
Right.
but the realization is when you begin this pattern of understanding that you can be authentic, but be authentic in a compassionate way, that it actually falls on the appropriate ears, and it actually does, it releases from you. It also brings awareness and also helps that individual, not necessarily course correct, but bring up, yes, it might bring up a trigger, but that trigger was needed to
Begin
level up.
healing, yeah.
Right, to heal. And
Right.
and so if life is nothing but a mirror, right? Everything that we do is a reflection of our existence. And those people that are in front of us, they're a reflection of us. And if they're seeing something in us that we're not seeing, is it right for them to call it out? Well, I mean, maybe so, right? And if you're mature enough, then you're going to hear it, listen to it, and then do with it that whatever you wish. And it's going, some of these things are going to be uncomfortable. It's just
Because of our ego.
right. And
Exactly.
but if you build that, and that goes back around to the ego, is if you understand your ego and how to build a relationship with your ego and not stick it in a closet somewhere, then
Yeah.
you can work with the ego to bring up those triggers in an appropriate way to release that action.
Well,
or
you're
that-
right, because we can't kill the ego. So
No.
what do? We try to suppress it. And
We
when we
tr- right,
suppress
yes.
it, we're not healing it.
Right.
We're masking
We-
over it again.
Right. We hide from it. We hide.
Right. And we deny those feelings, and we say that's not what
Right.
we
We think our ego is the boogeyman, and we have to run from it and hide from it. Where no, it's just it's who we are, and we have to accept who we are, and we have to find ourselves in a place of allowing ourselves self-compassion and self-love and self-care, and that's how you wrangle that thing called ego, so that you can, allow the triggers to come up and not be exorbitant. They don't like burst out and create more chaos. It's more of an internal action.
But to your point with the kids, we haven't been trained to take constructive criticism either.
Right.
So everything is personal.
Especially in this last, like in the millennial generation, especially, it was like, oh, let's just what can we do to make you feel better?
Oh, yeah. You're feeling uncomfortable.
here's an
Let's give
award.
you this whole thing.
Yeah.
Here's an award.
So I know for me, I have a hard time receiving criticism in a nice way. And I think it's because growing up, everything I did was great. My parents praised me. I was the oldest child. Everything I did, I made good grades. I did all this stuff. I never failed.
Oh, wow.
Just
Sorry,
all of
are you
this.
saying you walked on water?
Yeah, she was.
Well, according to my parents. No,
invincible, man.
not for real. But according to my parents, they gave a lot of praise, which is good. But and I'm a very self-confident person because of it. But if you tell me that I've done something wrong, I'm like, wait a minute, what are you talking about? I don't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
So it's hard.
Well, and I'm on the opposite end of that. I was told that I did everything wrong. Everything that I did was wrong. So I grew a thick skin to that. So I can take criticism to a point. Obviously, spousal relationships are different than work relationships and friend relationships. So if it comes from a spouse,
level of intimacy.
It hits that chord much differently. But somebody else, I can honestly, if they talk shit to me, number 4. We're keeping track on YouTube how many times we're shooting that word out.
We're doing it for YouTube.
Right.
Oh, that's fun.
But it's, if they do that, I can honestly deadpan in the face, look them right back in the eye and go, whatever. It has no effect on me because right then at that point, I look at it as, okay, well, I've triggered something in you. That's good. Good. Yes, I will take your criticism and I'll work on it on my own timeline because that's something for me to work on,
to see if that resonates.
Right, under my own tent. I don't need you to help me work on that. I'm great. You called it out. Good. Move on. But when it comes from a very close, intimate relationship, that's where I struggle
because you don't have anywhere to hide.
Right. Well, that and
it's like
that, and I never had that. I never had criticism as a child. I had, I never had that loving criticism, and that's where it's coming from you is loving criticism. So, to me, it's like,
oh, he hears his mom again.
right. I hear my mother.
Yeah.
And so then I go into a completely defensive mode.
that makes sense.
I turtle up. I put up all the. I'm like. And it just and I don't know how to handle that, and that to me is one of my. That's the areas you need to work on. Yeah, it is.
And what's so interesting, kind of sad, is we had a client not too long ago, and she's already in her 70s, and one of her questions, and I saw this in myself. She said, when I grew up, I forget what she said, the dynamic with her parents is such that she can't take criticism, and so it's impacting her relationship with her spouse. She's 70-something, and this is still not healed. And I'm thinking all of us are walking around with this because we don't heal it.
Right.
We don't work on it. We don't recognize it. We're talking your bio family, your birth family.
Yeah.
Things that happened in that little 18-year thing
window
is still happening 60 years from then or whatever.
Well, that's what my mom and my sister do. And it's
Right?
just like, and I tried to explain on the trip, I tried to explain to them that it's not separately, not at the same moment. No, never together.
All right.
But that it's not something just occurring between the two of them. That they're flinging out these energetic barbs. Everyone's getting maimed.
Right.
It's because, when we're all together, then it's like they're just, nothing is said without this.
The collateral damage is across the board. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember at one point, as I say, at one point, because my mom kept my sister said she needed to use the restroom, and we're driving in the mountains, because everything's mountains there. And every time my mom saw a restroom, she'd go, well, we could stop here. And my sister's like, I got it, Mom. And like my mom was just trying to be helpful, and my sister could not hear the help, and her ego had built up this whole defense and all this stuff.
Right.
And then finally, Alex got tired of it, and he was driving. He pulls over, And so Catherine gets up to go to the bathroom. I almost thought she wasn't going to, just to.
Just a spite.
And everybody gets in the car, and I'm so filled because I'm the one feeling all this well, and Alex was feeling it too. And I said, okay, everyone, let's be adults. No one needs to take care of anyone else's bodily actions.
Right.
Like if you need to go to the bathroom, state it. And then it's up to you or in the driver to make it happen.
Make that agreement.
Yeah. Let's not, And then, because my sister can't take comments like that, like I was kind of using humor, but I was also like, we need to stop this. And then for the next couple of days, she was like, oh, we're not bringing up, bodily functions, right?
Yeah, then they have to be snarky, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So, when I don't know, it's just, you gotta just kind of, here's how I kind of feel like if you really want to get into this and you really want to work on this stuff with yourself, is that you need to develop a relationship with a few people who you say, that this person's in it for
To practice.
Yeah, my best interests. I knew that when you said that to me, that it was for my benefit. And that's how I take it from everybody. They're saying this to make me aware that's beneficial. And
Right.
no, I may not
For growth.
Yeah, and some of it, I was fine with that because I kind of knew, but sometimes it does hurt more than others, and sometimes you're kind of like going, yeah, no, I'm comfortable with how I am now. It's just that maybe they're uncomfortable, and that's okay too. So it's constructive criticism,
And
I
this
guess
will
the word
help.
criticism is very hard.
Yes.
Just that word has energy,
And that's why they put
Right.
constructive in front of it, because it's supposed to be purposeful.
It's supposed
not
to soften it
be.
with constructive.
Maybe we
harsh.
should say beneficial suggestions.
It's interesting because as a teacher, I'm a counselor, but in teacher
Yeah.
training, they tell you that when you're going to give feedback,
Yeah.
to couch it, like
Yeah.
put the negative piece in the middle and couch
Yes.
it with a
Positive and positive.
You did
positive on
this
each
really
end.
great. And then not to say, but.
right.
Yeah.
'Cause
Here's
then
where
you
I see
negate
room
it.
for improvement.
Yeah.
And this will help all of your relationships, like your boss, when they give you, it's very uncomfortable when you have your yearly evaluation, you're sitting in front of your boss and they have to tell you what you've done wrong or whatever. Nobody wants to hear that. But if you can understand and grow from it, then it makes you a better employee or a better spouse or a better whatever.
Yeah, so why wouldn't you listen? Yeah, I think when you do that, it's one of those things of, you really do this great. Can I suggest something that has been kind of, rubbing me the wrong way, or I'm seeing this and it's because this is great. On the other hand, there's this that is detracting from this,
I can
like
see how hard it is to
it's-
say not but. In
yeah, and I try so hard not to say
yeah.
because it's not. I don't know. It's a tough one, but you immediately negate any positive thing you say. I kind of like the idea of saying, and my mom used to do these family meetings. I tried to employ it in my family. When my kids were young, nobody was having it, and then I said, okay, we're going to have the book. And nobody would write in the book, and I'm like going, when I try to get the family to sit around and talk about stuff and hold that space, they would be so sarcastic. And I'm like, can none of you understand the concept here? Because my mom did it and it worked beautifully, but if I think so much of the time when we have the hard conversations and stuff, we say it when we finally get enough oomph in us or we're distressed enough about it or whatever, and we're not taking the other person in consideration. Are they in the receiving mode? And sometimes people are never in the receiving mode. And then it's like, can we talk about something later? I need your undivided attention.
Yeah.
So, if you create the space for it, I think you texted me and I said, can we talk?
Can we
or-
chat? Yeah, probably.
And of course that immediately makes you go, okay, the principal's called me, when the wife says, honey, we need to talk.
Yeah, we need to talk.
But creating that space, and to try to say, look, I value you. And I want our I think this important thing is I want our relationship to be really good. I feel this is harming the relationship or my relationship, like our connection with each other. Can we discuss this? And getting someone to buy in on the discussion. Because the thing is, if they're not willing to say, yeah, I'm willing to hear it, then they're not willing to hear it at any point.
Sure.
So I think there's healthy ways to go about doing it. But it's got it, like, it's like, I don't want to say rip the Band-Aid off. But the more you find ways to do it and be compassionate in the way you do it, the better you get. It's a skill,
Oh, yeah,
which is
Oh,
why,
yes.
going back to children, if we could teach this with
Yeah.
our children, how would you feel if someone did this with you? Okay, so then how would you say it to them?
Right,
It's,
And the more you hear it, the easier it becomes to accept those things, criticisms or whatever you want to call them. But I wanted to circle it back to, because that's
Yeah.
this authentic relationship and giving and taking feedback is a little bit different from the triggers that happen spontaneously, like you started us out with, with regard to somebody's growing faster than you are, or
right.
somebody's skill is developing, or
somebody else has given them guidance that didn't come from you,
Yes,
And
yes.
because I was like, what the hell is wrong with me? I don't know anything about Reiki. Why would I care that she discovered
Yeah.
something through?
Yeah.
That blew my mind. And I was like, who is this person inside of me that is not me, that I don't want to be me? And then that's when
Right.
you have to go, ooh, hidden shadow self. Let's let
Right.
them cuddle and, strangle it to death.
I think it's important to remember, strangle it from a heart space.
Suffocate it with a pillow.
Pillow.
Right.
From
Come
my
here.
heart, though.
Let's
Yeah.
talk. Right.
I love you, but you can't live.
Right.
Yeah.
This piece of me has to go.
Oh gosh, but I think it's important to remember that these thoughts are going to pop in our head.
Yes.
We're never going to get rid of the thoughts. The same way when we try to meditate, these thoughts come in,
We all do it.
and they're not always great thoughts. And so it's about recognizing that thought and where's it coming from, and do I need to go inward and heal that? So the thought was, gosh, she's found other friends, or
She
she's,
doesn't need me.
like you said, listening to advice from other people. She doesn't need me, whatever it is, somebody else is taking my place. So those are the human thoughts that come in. They may or may not be accurate, but it's about addressing them from the heart space at that point, not about getting rid of the thought in the first place. So my point here is that this is a daily activity.
Yes.
Really.
Yeah.
I would venture to guess that it happens very frequently, if not daily, where there can be some sort of trigger, some kind of thought that comes in that hits your self-worth. It's really, I've noticed that a lot of it stems from the self-worth. Any jealousy, any fear, all of that stuff comes from self-worth and ultimately fear.
Yeah, maybe I'm not as good. Maybe, you won't love me if. All that
Right.
kind of stuff.
Maybe
Right.
my skills aren't as good as I thought they were, or maybe I should have trained harder, or maybe I should have done these things. It's
Yeah, or who am
a
I
cycle,
to?
right? It's a whole cycle
And much of
thoughts.
that comes from this habit that we have that's been ingrained since birth of looking for external validation rather than internal validation. And so right away from childhood, you're used to having praise from your parents, or then you go to Little League and you're getting kudos from your coach or your teacher or whatever it is. You're looking for that external praise constantly, rather than going within and realizing the self-worth comes from within because of your
And your parents do it. They sit there and go,
connection.
well,
Yeah.
look what so-and-so's doing. He's now, got a family and a house and,
Right.
and I just want you to be happy.
But oftentimes there's self-worth from many past lives also.
Yes, that's
So
and it's a door that's
sometimes
left
there.
open that we leave open for reflection
To heal
this,
it here.
right? Because we may not have worked on it in those past lives because that wasn't our plan. That isn't what we really wanted to work on it. But we've left it open for this life because this is where we needed to clear it, because it's actually clearing a lot of other things in maybe ancestral or for the future or whatever. So yeah,
And I
Good
think-
way to put it. Like I hadn't looked at it like that.
it's like a whole cycle. Of
And I
things.
think we've talked about this before, about these are some normal human ingrained feelings. Like you don't
Yeah.
want to get kicked out of the tribe, right? Survival. So people liking you and wanting to include you is important. So when you speak your truth and you might get thrown out of the community or thrown out of your church or thrown out of whatever, that triggers survival. And so the fear is real. These are real physiological things and emotions that come up. And so it isn't about beating yourself up about that. It's about figuring out how you can.
And before we started this podcast, I was like, I don't know if I got much to interject.
We
with
always
this.
know he has something to say.
Because I mean, as I've matured in my spiritual growth, I've yes, do I have the struggles that we're talking about? Absolutely, but not to the extent of what we're talking about as far as, comparing myself to others, or maybe being in a clique and not being, asked to do things or whatever it is. Not to that extent, but what I had mentioned was that, yes, in my past life, my previous life of doing my normal human stuff. Yeah, I mean, the church in Texas, part of the men's group. Did I ever get called to do things? I was part of the church. I was part of the men's church group, thing in church, and I'd do all the churchy things. But when it came time for them to go hunting or go fishing and do whatever, yeah, and it rubbed me. I was like, okay, why?
It hurts.
Why?
It does
It hurts.
hurt
It
to
hurts.
not be
I mean, it went
included.
right to the core. I'm like, I thought I was part of this group.
Right.
Well, and so what was it they could have come to say to you? What is the constructive criticism? Was it something you were saying, doing, or whatever that had you had any kind of awareness about that there was a potential to change or adjust?
Well, I know part of it was self-induced, I would believe, because I cherish our time together more than I cherish time
So they
with anybody
stopped
else.
Getting together with a guy.
Well, they never asked in the first place. I mean, they never asked in the first place because they saw that how we would do everything together. But still, it is when you're
At least be invited.
right. At least give me the invite.
Yeah.
That kind of. And hey, look, no hard feelings. That was then. This is now.
If they're watching, if they're
any
even
of you
watching.
happen to be watching this, I mean, hey, it is what it is. But yeah, I mean, I can look back at that and go, yeah, those were those moments that I felt that visceral.
We've all had those feelings of
Right.
not being included or being abandoned.
Right.
And those are
and that was even, and I can, from that point back, the door's been swung open, so I can go all the way back to my childhood and see where all those times happened. I mean, as an only child, you're left on your own. You have to make it in, and if you don't make it in, well, you're on the outside.
True.
So, right? So I always had a hard time getting in, but once I got in, then I thought I was part of the cool crowd, but no, that kind of thing. So,
Yeah.
so I have always,
You weren't invited to the white party.
right. So,
A what party?
Cultural reference that's going on right now.
yeah.
The inner sanctum.
Yeah.
Oh,
The
Yes.
but it's it's one of these things where
I was trying not to say it really.
right. It's one of these things where you go into a mode of self-preservation, so you don't put yourself out there. You don't try to include yourself with different groups. You don't have a large friends group. You narrow that friends group down to a very small number, and it's a very trusted number. It's
to protect
and it's a
yourself.
protection
Right.
mode,
Yeah.
right? But what I've found in this, where as I've matured spiritually, is I could be immersed in large groups or small groups, but I'm still my own entity. I'm still my own divine self. I'm my own sovereign self. And if they want to include me, they can include me. If they don't, no hard feelings.
That also gets easier with time and as you heal.
And
Yeah.
the healing component, like it's so great when you get on that journey.
Yeah.
And you start going after it with gusto, because you still experience a lot of this stuff from time to time, unless you're Will. Sorry. But
Thanks.
you still experience a lot of this stuff, and it's just how quickly you move through it.
How fast you peel that onion and how fast you expose those under layers, and you just keep moving through it and moving through it and moving through it.
But again, it's not anything that's ever going to go away completely, I don't think, while you have a human body and emotions and physiological responses.
Yeah.
So-
well, because they're all meant to teach us, and we're here
Right.
to experience, and you can't experience if you have nothing contrasty. Like, it has to happen.
Yeah.
So
And I think sometimes these situations like yours with Diana are to see. It's kind of like we put this in our path. Nobody's trying to do this to us, but we put this in our path. Like, here's a demarcation line. Let's see if you did learn back here. Let's see if you did.
Right. Little
Did you really
testable-
heal
little
like you
testable
thought
moment,
you did?
right?
Right. Yeah. And
Oh,
put
pop
that
quiz.
back
It's
in
a
our
pop
awareness.
quiz. That's what it is. It's a pop quiz. It's a life pop quiz.
Well, I have to say, I'm very fortunate that I have Diana, that I do
Yes.
trust her implicitly, and that she does understand my craziness with healing, like just, like examining, turning every stone over, whenever I feel some kind of discomfort, and examining and discussing it, and And it's
Everybody needs somebody like that in their life.
Yeah,
I mean, I know
it's just-
Allison has
Well, I got a bunch of those people now. I mean, I feel very fortunate because I'm developing a whole community.
Yeah.
I don't want to say like a trusted souls, trusted, but
Trusted voices.
Yeah, trusted voices. Because I'm looking at all people around me that their intention is to benefit me. Even if they, flip me off and say something nasty, I'm like, wonder what I did. Wonder what, that's interesting. And learning not to just let it be a soul crushing experience or that I need to have retribution for it, So
That's a good point, because truly that is what's happening. Everything that you encounter is there to help you in some way, even if it doesn't feel like it.
yeah, it's so much fun being on this side of it and have it be more of a game,
And it feels so good when you do have that moment, that test, and you feel nothing. You feel fine. You're completely fine. It feels so good to realize I finally got rid of that one. There's others, but I got rid of that one.
Well, and just to be in the car and have the realization of what was going on and just have it, that disintegration feeling, that release.
Yes.
You're just like,
right.
Yeah, exactly.
you just feel so
Yeah,
good.
you won that level.
know?
You won that level. Now it's
Level up.
Level up.
New
Yeah.
challenges.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I thank you for letting me bring this up or embracing it like you did.
Yeah.
And for not going, oh dear God, she's bringing that up. Because that was, you just kind of went,
Tough.
"She's sharing that?"
Yeah. It
But
is
see,
tough.
that's how I roll. Is just going bleh. And I know you're going to go, no, don't do that.
Well, I think it's again showing our audience that we are trying to be authentic
not
and
trying to
trying to
hide
be
anything,
vulnerable.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that we can help, and we're all in this together.
It's always a hope that, through our examples of what we've been through, shed light on your journey and you grow from it. I mean, that's really what we're all here for, is to see.
I think people
ourselves
need
and
to
everybody
know
else.
that the people that are behind the podcast or the people that are on YouTube channeling or whatever it is, they also have these struggles.
We all have lives.
And you tend to not want to share those. On Facebook, you're sharing all the best things about yourself.
Yeah.
And so we compare ourselves to those people, and we're like, they look like they have a perfect life. They don't have these problems. So we want to make you aware that we all have these kinds
We
of.
don't wear the flat brim hats and we don't live on yachts. So, we're not influencers. We have lives. We have struggles, and we want to, let everybody, I mean, obviously we're not going to tell you all of our struggles, but we're going to let you
Not all
in,
of our deep, dark secrets.
right. We're
but
going to let you in the ones that
a good number of them.
right, that give you insight on, some things that you might be going through. So.
Well, and I want to remind people that I do have a group on Facebook, and the whole purpose of this group is that we're addressing all of these things to self-help, to move through
great.
these blocks and all that kind of stuff. And I'm going to start doing just free coaching.
There you go.
I've decided it's going to be love-based. That's such a weird word. If you want to donate money my way, I greatly appreciate it.
Sure.
But I have to do it. Like,
Yeah.
I just want to just help people move through these kinds of icky feelings, because once you have that supportive group, it's like you can go, okay, now I got this issue. How do I move through this? And you begin to get on a roll and get that tenacious feeling of, I'm going to wrestle this sucker to the ground. I'm going to, feel good more of the time.
Once you
and stuff
feel the
like that.
momentum moving, the wheel starts to turn, and you realize there's momentum behind this, and I can actually accomplish some of these deep, dark things that have been bothering me for so long. Then, as the wheel keeps turning and turning, that momentum is growing and growing, and those things get easier and easier because you have the strength and the skills to do it.
Right.
It's that first push of the wheel that's the most difficult. That's the one that rips the Band-Aid off. That's the one that brings up all the emotions.
Yes,
That's
it
the one
gets
that
easier.
is the struggle, and you just push just a little bit, and then all of a sudden you've got that accomplishment.
And the name of your group is?
Well, it's KISS Keep It Simple, sister. It's like Facebook / whatever
KISS,
groups.
the KISS group?
Yeah, KISS group. But if you just message me, just reach out and ask about it, and I would be happy to.
Get you in.
Yeah, get you in. It is women only, and we've decided to do it that way. That's who most of my clients are, even though I do work with men. But but it's because
Well, it's a sacred space for that.
Yeah,
No,
there's stuff that, no guy wants to hear a woman, kind of saying some of the things that women typically talk about. We're very verbose about our men a lot of times. And so it's just easier to have a women's only group.
And thank you for the reminder.
And Diana does that with me. She co-hosts it.
Right. Good. So look that up. Facebook, YouTube, all over the
Yeah,
place.
I thought it would be a good time to mention that.
Yes, because I think this is going to air mid to later November. So Awakening Stories is our new book. I served as the editor for 23 beautiful authors who are, again, being vulnerable in telling their awakening journey, their awakening story. Some were very traumatic. Some involved near-death experiences. They're all different. They're all beautiful. They're all sacred. And they work beautifully together in this anthology. Awakening Stories is available. It is available on Amazon when we hit publish, when we hit go, which we are hoping will be the end of the week of November 18th. Definitely before Thanksgiving, it'll be out. So if you wanted to purchase a copy to give for Christmas, that would be ideal, or for yourself. Each of the authors will be selling their own copies. So you can look at either on our Facebook group or
I'll put.
you're going to put a link,
I'll put a
copy of the cover.
copy of the cover on here, and then
Because
Well,
you may
I'll figure it out.
recognize some of the authors, and Samantha is one of them. So if you recognize one of the authors and you want to go to their website to purchase, they will sign it for you and get it in the mail.
Or if they don't have a website, if you reach out to us, we'll get you linked in some manner, whether it's via email,
Right.
text, or something.
If you do not know any of the authors, you're welcome to pick it up on Amazon to have your own copy.
Yeah.
So again, thank you so much for visiting with us for the past hour. We love that. Thank you for your comments. Many, many blessings to all of you. Please do hit the thumbs up because it does help, and subscribe if you haven't.
Share it.
And, don't know when exactly this will be airing, but hope you have a
before
beautiful,
November.
beautiful Thanksgiving if you're in the United States.
Yeah.
And we're hitting the holiday season, right?
Yep.
Yeah, they already
Reach-
have Christmas stuff on the shelves.
Right. So reach out to us if we can be of assistance if you're encountering any stress or what have you.
Yep.
But thanks again, and until next time,
See y'all.
see you later.